What is up, guys? It is Simba here, and welcome to another team racing video on F124. And today we are back in WR's Legacy Division for the Italian Grand Prix. If you haven't seen the last race I did in EML, which was around the Circuit of the Americas, go check that one out before you see this one. I think you'll enjoy it because I think I actually drove a pretty decent race around Cota for once. But all gears switch to Monza, the temple of speed. We're back in console's highest tier of racing in WR's Legacy Division. If you're looking forward to this one, make sure you hit the like button and get subscribed for more team racing content. We're coming towards the end of F124, which is pretty much to the relief of everyone. And this is going to be, well, as you can see by the title, this is going to be my last race of the season. And the reason why is because the last race is going to be in Belgium, which I'm not a fan of anyway. And also, that race takes place on my 21st birthday, and I couldn't imagine a more sad way to actually spend my birthday getting knocked out in Q1 again. So this is going to be our last one of the season. We're going to try and end it on a good note, and you can see we're halfway through our first lap in Q1 here at Monza. Going into this one, I was feeling pretty confident with race pace, as you saw the race in AEC, where we got a 1-2 finish. It's going to be pretty difficult to replicate that, since everyone here is really quick, and we're going to see what we can do here. So, purple middle sector, the lap is not going too badly, but going through Ascari,
never done that once.
it's safe to say that that is not going to be a purple sector 3, just carrying no minimum speed through any part of that chicane. And yeah, it's not been a great third sector. Joe Murphy sets the pace on his first lap. We drift through the Parabolica, which is not something I recommend, and coming across the line,
don't talk about that. Also, it's just so shit.
well, there you go. Honest feedback as always. That was terrible. But now we need about 6/10 to get through in one lap. And it's mainly in the last sector. So let's see what we can do here. Because we're currently 18th. It's not looking good for us at the minute. Down into turn 1 we go. Clipping the curb on the inside. We do a pretty decent job of the chicane. And that was where I was losing most of the time in practice. But I'll get to that in a second. We're nearly a 10th up, I believe, going into Sector 2. So we're doing a pretty decent first sector. It is a 26.1, which I was struggling to do when I was practicing for this one. So it's a pretty decent start to the lap. But we have a bit of a moment through the second chicane, and we lose a bit of time. And through Lesmo 1, the car just doesn't want to turn there. We just get a lot of understeer mid-corner. And that really hurts the deltas. Now we're level with it as we come out of the second Lesmo. And like I said, all the time is in Sector 3. Mainly Ascari. We're a 10th up on Zane, who is currently 16th. And unfortunately, we've invalidated. We have invalidated, I'm afraid. And you can see the delta flying up as we're going through the final sector, through the Parabolica. We'd still turn in a bit too early, but you can see the delta continuing to spike higher. Almost half a second. It's an 18.7, which wasn't pretty anyway, but I can tell you, we immediately look at the race director, and that would have been enough to get through. And by the time the session's over, we would have been through by 13 thousandths of a second. And my PB in Q1 was a 0.5, and we would have been 8th, but it's 18th instead. Now, unfortunately, in this Q1 scenario, someone has to be last, and unfortunately, it does. This Q1 thing is more frustrating than watching Garnacho try and make a good decision in the final third, but yeah, just not good enough. We have absolutely shat the bed again. Nico is last because he's serving a qualifying ban from the last race in Austria, so it's going to be hard to turn things around here. However, despite the terrible qualifying, I was actually feeling quite confident for the race, because I know that the race pace is a lot stronger here, judging from the last race in AEC.
Right, time for the race. I can't wait for this one.
So here we go, time to get into this one. I forgot to mention in that little qualifying segment that I was getting annoyed with the setups in qualifying, and I was changing them and it wasn't quite working out. But either way, we're out. Time to focus on the race. We're going to be starting on the medium tyres, and we're going to see if we can try and replicate that same strategy as in AEC if there's an early safety car. But as we go into the lobby to start the race,
Oh, bomb that plan. It's bloody raining.
Are you serious? Oh, it's brilliant. Oh, fucking great. It is absolutely chucking it down. So rain has arrived, and we're going to change the setup. We're going to be starting on the intermediate tyres, because that is pretty much the meta with this game. In these 4 wet conditions, the wets will be faster for the first few laps, but the inters will eventually switch to be the better tyre out of the 2. So let's see what we can do. From 18th on the grid, the 5 red lights are out, and we are underway for the last time in WR's Legacy Division this season, and it's a pretty decent getaway from P18, but the main priority here is to make sure we don't trip over ourselves into the first chicane, because it's going to be very easy to get damage. As you can see, we go through turn 1, there's a Red Bull that's gone off the track, I believe that's Ryan in the TTM car, as we nearly make a bit of contact there with Thomas Seto in the, I think he's in TF10, in the RB. So we managed to get past him and another few cars, and we're up into P15, already into the points. But as we go into the second chicane... What is Tom doing? Are you retarded? We get hit off the track, and that is a straight penalty. How's that illegal as well? What's wrong with you? And I am far from happy. We even have to give the place back for an illegal overtake. And the game believing that it's a stonewall penalty for us for cutting the chicane when we've been absolutely barged off the road there. I have no idea what Tom was doing there, but it turns out that he got hit from behind from, I believe it was TRT Zane. And that's why we made contact, as now we're going to try and get on with things anyway. As you can see, Stefano's had a very poor run out of Ascari, and we're going to use the overtake to get past him, and we're up into P15 again. And basically, guys, just ignore that 3-second penalty. I can tell you that's getting removed at the end of the race. So all we need to do now is make sure we don't get another penalty, because that penalty will stick on if it's for track limit. So on to lap number 2. We've gained 3 places and a 3-second penalty, which will get removed. As now we're having a look at Allison, as we're going to try and follow Tom through on the inside line. Tom goes very wide, boxes in the TTM man. We're going to try and hang it round the outside through 2. And we have come together before, but thankfully we don't do it on this occasion, as Allison is still in 14th. I believe he was one of the few people that were practicing with us, along with Nico. It was Allison and Harrison Holmes as well for EVE, as Allison's really struggling in these wet conditions. He's on the wet tyre. He takes a completely wrong line through the Ascari chicane, and again, we pounce on the opportunity, and we're up into 14th place. I remember Allison was complaining about TTM not exactly helping him out with setups. So I think they might have done that again here, if you're watching this, Allison, because that is not the correct line through Ascari. As we're up into 14th, you can see that by lap 4, Shizou Tom is looking like one of the fastest cars on track, if not the fastest car on track. He's already a few seconds up the road. And meanwhile, we've been overtaken by TTM Ryan, who's had a very eventful first few laps. He's trying to get his way back up the order as well. He passes us down the straight, but at this point, my engineers, Belrofux and FRT Harvey, were just telling me that, you know, we need to get back past him, because this is where the wet tyres are not exactly going to be working anymore. You can see he's struggling quite a lot through Parabolica. We are literally right on his gearbox by the time we get out of the corner to start the 5th lap of the race. We set another personal best of a 30.7, Zane on a 30.2. And you can see that the front runners are slowly getting away, and we're just keeping our car alongside the Red Bull as we're going to go round the outside and we'll turn to the inside for turn number 2. And look at that. We can make this move round the outside. It's not like Verstappen in 2021 where he's flown on top of Lewis Hamilton's head. We're still going side by side with the TTM man going into the second chicane, and we do manage to eke ahead of him, and we take the position before we get to the chicane, and we are back up into 14th place. You can see Shizou Tom is already 2 seconds ahead, so he must have some lightning pace on the wet tyres. Shizou definitely doing him a favour with the setup. It's definitely working for him at the minute, but we're up into 14th, and we're just looking to find a bit of a rhythm. And that's because if you guys have seen the VUM race in Brazil, where we did start 17th and we did recover to 10th in the end, and it was in wet conditions, so I'm pretty confident about my pace in these type of conditions on this game compared to F1 23. So I'm hoping that we can show it here, as now we're on to lap number 6. We do get our first warning for track limits, as FRC Nico has also followed us through the field. So we're both in the points. He started last, so he's making some good progress as Fraser has overtaken the Haas of Funnerspin. I'll just call him Spin, because I can't quite read his gamer tag. But, no, never mind, we'll call him Funnerspin. But Funnerspin on the wets, clearly struggling, and Fraser already eking out a gap between himself and the Haas. And he's not really going to challenge us here, so we're going to go side by side. We're using everything in the battery. We're running out of battery once again down the main straight, but we get him really late on the brakes there. We use second gear to get the car rotated through the first chicane, and that is us up into P13. And we're making really good progress. 8 laps in, we've gained 5 positions. Not a bad start at all. Now Nico's looking to follow us through, and he's got the inside line on the Haas going into the second chicane. We're going to box him in as we're on the original racing line anyway. And Nico follows his way through, and he's up into 14th. So we're doing well as a team, but now here comes a part where I didn't really quite enjoy it. But we are going to try and swap places. Nico's battery management was actually really good at this stage of the race. And yeah, there you go. We've just let him through. And I can't lie, I wasn't very happy about it, because I was liking my chances in the wet. But Nico's pace that he's been showing lately is nothing but impressive. He's been really finding form in his last couple of races. So we're going to try and let him have a go and see if he can catch up to Fraser and pass him. So for us at this point, it's just about working together with our teammate, trying to make more progress, as Fraser has built a bit of a gap since he passed the Haas on the wet tyres a few laps ago. And yeah, wasn't too happy about this, but it is what it is. So we'll just have to keep going. Nico, at the moment, obviously our penalties are going to get removed, but yeah, Nico looking pretty decent between the two of us at the minute, as unfortunately through Lesmo 2 we got our second warning for track limits. So now we need to do 2/3 of this race without getting a penalty. We should be alright, as to lap 15 you can see we've gained 2 places, and that's because people are pitted from the inters. So some people are committing to the 1-stop, and I can tell you now, we're going to commit to the 0-stop once again, as Brando, TF10 Brando, is in the pits. And that's a crucial moment in this race, which I'll get to in a little bit later. And we do manage to fly past Fraser, who doesn't put up any sort of resistance against us. And there you go. We're both in the top 10 with just 12 laps to go. And here is an update on the tyre wear situation, because that is going to be key towards the end of this race. And you can basically hear me just say that we're on 43% on the rear left. So at this point, we're not looking too bad, but it is going to get a lot worse towards the end of this race. And you can see the gap between Gabor and Nico is nearly 4 seconds. And that's the gap we have to catch to the front runners. And that's not exactly going to help us, because if you're in a train in the wet conditions, it's a lot easier to save your tyres, as you know, you can just keep a decent pace with everyone around you. But me and Nico are basically doing this on our own, as we do swap the cars back again. And you can see there's a little yellow light flashing as well, which means we're pretty marginal on fuel, as Alpha Kevin is also in the pits. So that means we'll move up into P8 in this Italian Grand Prix. But that gap between myself and the cars in front has increased to 5 seconds. So maybe the pace wasn't as strong as I first thought, as we're having a bit of a drift through Parabolica, as Owen now is in the pits for BRT. So now we're in P7 and 8 with 7 laps to go.
Yeah, mate, we'll shithouse a fat bunch of points, but we've got to keep going.
And you can hear me say, by the time we get to lap 23, there's only 5 laps left. We have to keep going, because a big result is on the cards here.
I'm 2.8 off these guys. They're really tripping amongst themselves.
Not only are we in a good position on the track, 7th and 8th, from 18th and 20th is not a bad effort in world whatsoever. But also, I've also found out that we are catching the cars in front. The gap was nearly 6 seconds a number of laps ago, and now it is only less than 3 seconds. But unfortunately, we have a bit of a situation here, because of course we're catching the cars in front, but the cars who pitted earlier are also with us too.
They're tripping over like crazy. What are these guys doing?
And by lap 25, we're still P7,
Say that, mate.
but we have a bit of an issue, We're catching the cars in front, but Owen and Brando have made their way through, and they're right behind us on much fresher intermediate tyres. I think we've passed the 70% mark on the rear left tyre, so it's going to be an effort to try and get to the end of the race without getting a puncture, and we're also marginal on fuel, so we've got to make sure that we take good care of the tyres, otherwise we're going to get a puncture and absolutely nothing, as Owen goes up the inside through Lesmo 2, and he easily breezes past us, and I wasn't mad about it at all. I was hoping to pass Jesler in front of us in the McLaren because he had front wing damage, but unfortunately we just couldn't get close enough to make a move, and you can see how much Owen has. He's just pulled away from us there. It's like comparing us to a spaceship with how he took the Ascari chicane. And Brando also, who pitted on lap 15 on fresh inters as well. They're 3 laps older than Owen, but they're a lot fresher than ours, and he goes through as well. So he's in P9, and, well, he's in P8, sorry, and we're down to P9. The only thing we can hope for now is things going on in front of us, and unfortunately, we did have a gap to Nico, about 1.7 seconds, and Nico was basically the first lamb of the slaughter. He's down outside the top 10 now, so we're the only FRT car in the top 10. But the opportunity for a big result is still in front of us, because if Brando and Owen trip over the cars in front of us on older intermediates, we could just go past them and get that penalty removed and maybe grab a big load of points from 18th on the grid. But now Alpha Kevin, who also pitted, he also breezes through, and he is up into P9, and we're down to P10. Nico down in P12, unfortunately. His pace has dropped like a stone here, as he's 4 seconds behind us, and he was really worried about getting a puncture, but we're 1 lap away from maybe getting a P10 finish here. We just need to make it. Fuel is not really an issue. I think we're just about, well, the light is still there, so we are literally level on fuel as we start the final lap, and I'm just at this point praying that there's just carnage in front of us. You can see we're moving to the right hand side of the track just to find the water outside the racing line, and that drift is not exactly going to help, but you can see that it's a lot of side-by-side action going into the first chicane, but everyone is keeping it clean for the time being. We're still borderline on fuel, but unfortunately not much is happening through the first part of the lap, so we're going to skip over to the end of Sector 2. Jesler is just in front of us, Gabor also just in front of us, and I'm really hoping for something to happen here, because if you've seen the Hungarian Grand Prix, there was a huge amount of carnage, so we're just hoping for that again to snap something. And you can hear me just say, we're hoping for some carnage going into Parabolica, the final corner of the race, and it looks like we're not going to get anything.
These guys really decide when to be boring and when to be fucking terrorists.
And it turns out that everyone has behaved there as we cross the line, the 10th man to finish the race, but obviously that 3-second penalty pushes us out, as Fraser will take a provisional P10. It's provisionally P11 for us, and immediately I'm pulling up the race director showing that this penalty should be removed. We got 2 warnings throughout the entire race after only getting our second warning on lap 9, so we did well to not get a 3-second penalty for track limits this time. But there you go, that is P11 in the Italian Grand Prix. It should be P10, and there were quite a lot of incidents in front of us as well, so let's talk about that real quick. So on screen are the provisional results. We get P11, Nico just held off Zane to get P12 there. So as a whole, as a team, we've done a pretty solid effort. The no stop was the best way to go for us because we lost so much time halfway through the race. But to the front runners, we couldn't quite manage our tyres the same way that they could. So the no stop was the best idea. It just fell apart right at the end where we could have got a little bit more, but I'm not too mad about it. We got overtaken by cars on fresher tyres. And now, here is confirmation that we did get that 3-second penalty removed, and Zane actually caused the incident, like I said earlier. So he tried to go bowling with Tom at Sector 2, and he got a 3-second penalty for his troubles. And thanks to the leaders tripping over themselves at the end, there were several incidents reported to the stewards, and that means we're promoted to P9 for the Italian Grand Prix. We have gone from 18th to 9th in the wet conditions here, and I'm actually quite happy with that. Another solid recovery in the race. The pace was really good. It was just a shame about the halfway point where we lost a lot of time to the leaders. I think if we were with them at the start, the result could have been very different, because I think we would have been a lot more opportunistic with our moves near the end of the race. But pretty happy with that. And that ends our season in WR's Legacy Division. I'm pretty happy with the showcase I've put up for myself. I'm pretty happy with the race pace I've shown. That seems to be a pretty strong point on this game. But the qualifying is absolutely horrendous. But I've been trying to fix it up for the last 2 years, and I'll continue trying to fix it because it needs to be fixed at this level, because you'll just get punished for it, and it'll just make races so much harder. And I think we're 8th in the standings. We're trying to catch TRT. I think we can still do it, but it's not very likely. So P8 it is. And I am hoping that we do qualify for World again, because the potential is definitely there to get some big results a bit more consistently as well. But I want to give a big thanks to Belrofux and Harvey for letting me in the team and giving me the chance to race at this level, because I didn't think that was possible on F1 23. But guys, cheers for watching the video. I appreciate the support as always. Make sure you hit the like button and get subscribed for more league racing content. It is the end of the road here in WR's Legacy Division, but hopefully we'll be back on F1 25. But until then, take care, and I will see all of you in the next one.